I can't tell what's going to happen in the future, but I'll never know if I stop digging.
Jimmy House. He's a strength coach, pro wrestler, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt who moved to Austin to train with the best. From rolling with John Danaher's squad to being mentored by his childhood hero Bill Goldberg, Jimmy is grinding every day to become a real-life superhero.
How fulfilling is it for you to have somebody that was probably an individual that you idolize, that person's trust to be able to work with?
Very surreal to be able to go from watching him on TV as a 3-year-old to now to be invited into his household and to be able to help gauge in any capacity. There's so many different skill sets that go into it. Sometimes hard to fathom how much time or how much skill it takes to even perform at their level, even when they're able to make it look seamless.
Every superhero stands for something, they stand against something, and they have a flaw. What does Jimmy stand for?
I've always stood for the...
Thanks so much for coming, man.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely, man. You kidding me? You got to bring the biceps into me. All right, came in all ready to go.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time.
Oh, it's been fun, man. It's been cool to see kind of the journey in your development, both as a coach, but also as an athlete as well. Yeah, man, a lot of fun. But I really just want to kind of open this up because you have had a really cool journey and you're currently in the middle of it. I want to really highlight the fact that, yeah, you still are young, but you've done some really cool things and you're still practicing. And let's say this is going to be some really cool stuff to talk about. But for those that don't know, who's Jimmy?
So my name is Jimmy House. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I relocated to Austin, Texas here almost 3 years ago. I'm a full-time strength and conditioning coach, but I'm also a professional wrestler who has also dabbled in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, powerlifting, bodybuilding, and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're strong as a house. That works. That works. That's cool. So how did you get into like sports? Did you have an athletic background growing up? What was the kind of like window for you to kind of get into this?
Yep, it all started when I was 4 or 5 years old. My dad was lifting in the garage, and as soon as I was able to comprehend kind of what he was doing, I started asking questions, and then he started showing me different movements and stuff like that. And when you took that and combined it with like the baseball that I was doing and the football that I was doing, it bled into wrestling and stuff like that later on in high school. So athletics and lifting weights has been a part of my journey for, I mean, as long as I can remember, really. Even martial arts at age 3, I started when I was real young too.
You did?
So,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're in a good window right now from a jiu-jitsu standpoint with some good people.
Yeah, totally. One of the reasons why I moved out here was to train under Gordon Ryan and John Danaher out here and stuff like that. And after the last couple of knee injuries, I don't train as much anymore because the professional wrestling is my goal. But yeah, that was one of the reasons why I moved out here, was to train with the best in the world.
How's that experience been? I mean, knowing John and in that group and seeing kind of what they've done, it's obviously evolved so much, recently, but, just in the last few years, how's that experience been with you? Did you have a jiu-jitsu background before?
Yeah, so I got my black belt in Arizona, and then when I moved to Austin, that's when I started training with them. So in my experience with training under New Wave or now Kingsway, it's been a lot of in and out. When I first moved here, I trained with them for probably about like 4 or 5 months consistently before I had the last knee injury. And then after the last knee injury, that's when I put pretty much all my carbs into professional wrestling. But from the outside looking in, having some experience with the guys, it's a very regimented room. John is somebody that is to some degree emotionless when it comes to his coaching style, but there's a lot of people in there that are high functioning intellectuals that respond really well to that. Very, very serious room, kind of very quiet at the start of practice. Everybody just kind of waits for John to collect everybody in, and everybody is very much a driller is a killer mindset. Yeah.
Drillers are killers. That's basically the way it works.
100%.
Pretty much. I mean, there needs to be a way to play, but there's a time and a place for that. You're not going to use this kind of open mat play environment for you to master your craft. And that level of skill is at another level.
Yeah, and it seems as though they take pride in that aspect, whereas I know a lot of other successful jiu-jitsu teams kind of balance the line between both, but they definitely are more so on the side of serious training. And now that they're at Kingsway, their own gym, they're able to bring some of the public in as hobbyists and train at different levels and stuff like that. So now other people are benefiting, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, John's philosophical background to coaching and to training and development is one at the academic level where it's like skill acquisition, and he knows how to like process and close loops. So he's a good teacher. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that people miss is it's not so much being a good practitioner, it's being a good teacher. I mean, people don't realize like John's got some time on the mat that most people
seriously
have never experienced. And he's coming from an environment where he kind of got thrown into the coaching culture earlier than most people, and under at a really, really high environment when he was in New York, New Jersey area.
It is interesting because the way he thinks, and you can kind of like watch him think as he's teaching through his things and whatnot, it's just very unique. you can tell that there's a lot of depth to what he's saying, and there's a lot of hours studying that I know, like on his own. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, there's not that many people, on the planet that know as much of the individual skill of multiple martial arts at the depth that he does. And
yeah, it's
I could
incredible.
speak for that being in those conversations, but the being a skill coach in the world of sports is very different, and I think that's what they've done really well with. Now you're venturing from the jiu-jitsu side of things. You're in the powerlifting side. You're in the wrestling side of things. Like that's where you're trying to go, right? That's like
Yeah.
this kind of cool career there.
Yeah, wrestling's my ultimate goal.
Is it?
Mhm.
That's really cool. Where was the fascination with that, and how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so it started with our mutual friend, Bill Goldberg.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
and so I was a diehard fan of his since I was 3
Were
years
you?
old. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting how things work, but I watched them when I was 3 years old. I've idolized them pretty much my whole life. The majority of my different mannerisms that I have in a training setting are from him.
Are they?
Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
man, that's
He's
awesome.
a leading reason why I moved to Texas
Mhm.
to be able to hang out with him, engage out here and stuff like that. And when I was a kid, the biggest impact that I had was seeing somebody like Bill that carried himself in such a way that Bill does, that also had the impact on the innocent, like kids and other less fortunate adults, that was able to inspire them despite his invincible character in the ring. And so that was something that I just always try to replicate growing up, whether it was with high school football or wrestling or just being in the gym. And so even like me doing traps at age 7 was because of Bill.
Yeah, man,
You know?
let's go. And I think it's cool because um, spending time with Bill and spending time with Gage, but Goldberg he's a character, and he's one of the smartest people I've met.
Mhm.
People think that, like, what? Like, that's surprising. I'm like, look, not only is he a great human being, but he's a genius. And part of the genius is in the way he created his career, which is he created a character that was timeless. He understood his career would end at the professional ranks as an NFL player, probably not on his own terms, which is always hard.
Right.
Whereas in the world of professional sports, as an actor and as a true professional, he created a timeless character.
Mhm.
And he didn't want that to be a nickname. He wanted that to be his.
Yes.
Nobody could take that from him.
Yeah.
That identity he created. And it because of his personality and his ethics, and because of the way he handles his business, a lot of people may not like that. But if you you may not like the things that happen, but you can't argue with the man that's putting it out there. He's
Yeah.
first class. I can speak for that. I've been able to be behind those rooms for a long time. And
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
that is an awesome person to be around. Now, your goal being in the wrestling side, like you were always into wrestling. I didn't. So just so you know, I had no idea. I wasn't into wrestling. The first WWE WW match I've ever seen was his retirement.
Oh, really?
Ever. First time I ever been to a show in my entire life.
What an introduction.
Yeah. And I'm like, cool. And I'm like, hey man, I'm sitting on a chair with my friend's face on it. This is crazy. This is amazing. And it's like, it's an educated audience. It's entertainment. It's like a curated, music concert / movie / like, behind the scenes Big Brother TV show / oh crap, this is a sporting event, and it's incredible athletes doing some incredible things, but I never experienced it before. So that's my only experience, and it happened to be there, which is kind of cool.
Right. When my dad was a kid, he was really big into DC Comics, Marvel Comics, the idea of a superhero. For me, it was professional wrestling, so Goldberg was my superhero.
Absolutely.
And so when I started professional wrestling, which I didn't really realize I wanted to do till maybe 5 years ago after I got my black belt, but my leading reason was I was teaching a kids jiu-jitsu class. And I like to say that was probably my proudest coaching and thing that I've ever done, was teach that group of kids. I've learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about kids, but I also learned a lot about what I wanted to do with my life. And I saw it as a way where, this skill that I have with these kids that is very unique, I think there's an opportunity to pay that forward. And I think I understand what I want to do with the rest of my life. And it goes back to Bill and what he did with his life, which was be a superhero to millions of kids. So for me,
the impact is so big at that when you have that character image. So I want that for you. I think it's so cool.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, you're spot on that it does make a huge influence.
Yeah, for me now it's just kind of like, what do I want to do in my life? What's my purpose? And it almost seems kiddish to say a goal such as this, but when I realize like it's so big, it's one of those that you'll get hate for saying it, but when you accomplish it, it's just the impact that you make. And so one day, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, I just said, I just want to be a superhero to millions of kids. That's it. And
Awesome.
thank you, I appreciate it. And professional wrestling was the most sensible transition after jiu-jitsu, the one that I didn't think I was going to do when I was a younger kid or in my teenage years, because I'm not 6'3" like Bill or 300 pounds.
Yeah,
but
he's not a small guy.
Yeah, no, not at all. But thankfully, from my perspective, though, the landscape has changed a little bit. There's a lot more guys like me that are having
Are there
opportunities.
little
Yeah,
characters and stuff like that?
Yeah.
People don't realize like Bill's a freak athlete.
Yeah, it's
You know,
insane.
he's not he's not a small guy, but he's a freak athlete, and he's also one of those guys that like he knows he's got to get a job done. He gets the job done. You know, like even it's like, dude, are you hurt? Are you banged up? Like he's probably
Yeah.
he's treated his professional career in wrestling similar that you would like a football player, where you're never 100%, but you have to give it 100%.
Totally.
And that's one of the things that he's able to do. He's put his body on the line to be able to make that happen. And it's kind of cool to see.
It is.
Really
It is. I think because he really understands that the payoff is worth it in regards to what the fans get, what he gets his experience. I was there lifting with him during the beginning part of his retirement prep, and he had the stem cells and stuff, but he was still feeling some things, and I know he was pushing real hard to get to that point to be able to do that last match, and it was cool to be able to see him like have that conclusion to his career, you know, something that I've been watching for over 20 years.
That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, anybody that has put that much time in, decades into their work, deserves to go out on their terms. Now, again, he'll tell you it's probably not the way that he wanted to go out, because he's one of those guys who's a gamer.
Yeah,
you know.
totally. Yeah.
So he's like, he wants to always be on. I don't think that there's a retirement in him.
Yeah.
There's just a next step and next chapter. Right. Just like where in your sense you're young, but you've done a lot of things. I mean, a lot of people don't have the discipline to show up and get the mat time in, right? They don't have the technique to get to that level that you're at right now. They don't have the toughness to fight through some of the injuries and the pressure abuse, and they don't have the time on the mat that has actually got to that kind of like nice little Venn diagram ecosystem of the things that it takes to progress from white to a black belt that you have.
Thank you.
This transition that you're going through, the cool part I'll say is this is like I won a national championship as a wrestler when I was in high school. I like to bang if I need to. I'm gonna throw down if I it's funny too, like where I walk around and I'm like, I don't even look like an athlete anymore, and people walk around and be like, oh, you can do that. I'm like, oh, you don't know.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, sometimes you have to remind them, and you're like, dang. And I remember like walking in my first time working with John. Big Dan is, I'm in there with him, and John is like, hey, we just want to thank Cav today so that none of us have to deal with this babe in the ass. And I'm just like, wait a second. I didn't know I was going to get murdered 7 different times today. And
I've also been that guy.
Yeah. And John's like, you know what? We're going to go like competition rounds. We're going to go 5 minutes. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound fun at all. I haven't been on the mat in 2 years.
Right.
I'm fat, out of shape, and old. But it's fun to kind of like look at yourself differently and go, oh man, I could do all these different things. You know, one thing about Bill, Bill can fight.
Yeah.
So he's not just a wrestler. Like he can fight.
Yeah, he can.
You know, and I think it's interesting because in your situation, there's a lot of characters that are out there, and you're strong as shit. You're athletic, and that's great. But like, you can roll. And if it comes down to wrestling, there's different levels to this game, and I think that's really cool. I think that you could put a authentic spin on being an actor in an environment and an athlete at the same time, and that to me, those like that level of kind of authenticity to the sport that it is really cool that you could bring, and I think that's a unique perspective that they don't have a lot of.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I to this day, out of all the things I've done, I consider professional wrestling to be the most intricate skill to develop because there are so many facets of it. You do have the shoot grappling side. You have even the bodybuilding side of looking a certain way, the powerlifting side of being strong. You have the acting side, like you talk about both in ring, but on camera, say cutting a promo. There's so many different skill sets that go into it to where you see a guy like The Rock or John Cena, Bill, and it's sometimes hard to fathom how much time or how much skill it takes to even perform at their level, even when they're able to make it look seamless. And so for me, that's something I always strive for. It's just, I try to get the physique down, and the shoot grappling background is good, but how do I get my promos better? How do I act better in the ring? The in-ring psychology of creating a good story in the ring is one of the most in-depth skills to learn in wrestling because, of course, we're staging a fight. So there's psychology that goes into it that makes the viewer kind of get lost in this trance of, oh, this is a real fight. They're fighting. Oh, that makes sense. This happened in the beginning. This happened in the middle. And so this might happen in the
storyline.
Yeah. And so I can see why it's so popular, especially nowadays. It's really caught fire again, and it's becoming well, it already has been, but it's so internationally popular. You know,
Oh, it's unbelievable.
yeah, not even
It's crazy.
WWE, but of course, I'm sure you probably know in Japan it's huge.
Globally it is.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. So
Well, I think that you're going to be able to impact, many different kids just in the work that you do as you show up, the character and the way that you show up. You look at like the impact of like Gage, right? I think the greatest contribution that Goldberg's going to have to the world is not the millions of impacted lives that he has. It's the fact that he has a son that is like just an amazing person.
Yeah.
And like that's a man today where you're watching his development and you get to be a part of that. How fulfilling is it for you to have somebody that was probably an individual that you idolized
Yeah.
give you, look, Bill has built an incredible career.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of cars. Let's just say,
he does.
Goldberg's garage is literally could rival anyone's collection.
Yeah,
that is a show in itself. But the guy who has a portfolio of business and one of the most successful people that has ever kind of played that game, and has an incredible acting career, has an incredible athletic career in many different disciplines, not just in wrestling. But what does it feel like to have that person's trust to be able to work with the most important asset that he has in his entire portfolio as a family, which is Gage? How does that feel?
I'm very blessed. I felt very blessed when I was able to meet him at the Olympia for the first time. We had a mutual friend, CT Fletcher, connect us.
Oh, yeah, another good dude. Yeah, cool.
Great guy. I felt very blessed when I saw him at WrestleMania one year, and he said, "I'm going to bring you out, work out with my son Gage, blah, blah, blah." And then I finally decided just to move out here and put myself in this environment. And then when he started allowing me to help Gage and work out with Gage and just even get to be with his family in a dinner setting, very surreal for where I came from. In Phoenix, everything's great, but it's just kind of very normal, very slow moving. So to be able to go from watching him on TV as a 3-year-old to now to be invited into his household and to be able to help Gage in any capacity, to be able to
nothing moves slow in the Goldberg household.
No,
and the thing is, the funniest part is the fastest thing is the best driver in the house is not Bill. Best driver in the house. I'm telling you, Bill may not like me for saying this, but Wanda's a better driver, no doubt.
I have rode with her in the little cart to go feed the kangaroos.
Oh, yeah. I met her she was literally, there was an animal that flatlined and she was revitalizing it, bringing it back to death in the kitchen is what I met.
Incredible with those.
And but yeah, she's absolutely an incredible stunt car driver, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating, but nothing moves slow in the Goldberg household. And part of that is also the reason why I think they can move fast is that they're aligned at the character level and the values level.
Totally.
He doesn't let anything stop him in his way too. You're going to run into a lot of hurdles in your life just because of the nature of the ambition that you have and the impact that you want to have. What are some of the obstacles that you've kind of ran into in your life, and how do you handle them now?
Outside the literal obstacles of injury and different things like that, I would say more recently in this journey, being so close yet so far to major goals, such as, say, getting into WWE and being able to impact these kids. When things aren't going your way, it's very easy to think you're never going to make it, or am I a failure, or when this doesn't happen, what do I have to show for it, and these different things. And the biggest thing that I've learned to rely on more recently, my personal decision, is to continue to reflect back on my faith and understanding that for me, God has a purpose, and he is leading me in the direction, and timing is really up to him, not up to me. And so there's been a handful of things that have happened, Bill being one of them.
Sure.
He definitely helped strengthen my faith for sure, because that coincidence rather is something that I could have never even wrote in a storybook, being able to connect with Bill.
But you put yourself in those opportunities
too.
I mean, it says in James 23, faith without work is dead.
100%.
But you got to put the work in. And I think the faith that you have is really important to like fall back on when things are going wrong, but you got to also put yourself in a position to where it's going to work for you, which means that you got to put the work in, and you are doing that.
Thank you. I agree 100%. And so to that point, more recently, having to relax a little bit and continue to trust my work ethic, but lean back into the faith, a opportunity that I can't speak of yet came up last week that I'm very excited to tell Bill about. But that being said, it's one of those things where if I had given up at the points where I felt the lowest, say last year after surgery or these different things, I could only imagine the things that I missed out on. And so it's like that meme, I don't know if you've ever seen it, where somebody's kind of digging forward and they stop at a certain point, but they almost have the treasure, and the guy that
diamonds are behind it, baby.
right.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about. It's as simple as comedic as a meme, but it's so true. And I can't tell what's going to happen in the future, but I'll never know if I stop digging. So
I mean, look, you want to make sure that you push through, because you never know where the diamonds are.
right.
And you should never be content with where you are,
Yeah,
but be content with the path that you're on.
I like that.
The being content will slow you down, but being content with the path that you're on means that I'm going in the right direction. And as long as I put, the pedal to the metal, then it will happen.
That's a great way to
So, well, I ask 3 questions to every guest, because I truly believe that if God put something in your body that you have as a superpower, and if it was given to somebody else, a person could be a billionaire. It's the $1 billion DNA that you have that nobody else has. Mine might be my confidence. It may be my coach's eye. It may be whatever. But you have something, right? And I don't know what that is. And I think that you have to ask those superpowers, like the superheroes, what are those powers? And I think in order to kind of find them, you have to kind of understand more about yourself. What is, like, every superhero stands for something, they stand against something, and they have a flaw. What does Jimmy stand for?
For me, I've always stood for the ability to use your particular strengths or blessings in life and be able to inspire or motivate or bring others up with those particular strengths, and understand that your strengths are your individual blessing, and you can use that in a way of greater good, or even in a way of pridefulness and different things like that. And it's easy to kind of float on both sides of the line if you're not careful. But that's something I've always tried to stand for, whether it was wrestling, being a captain in high school, or the different things I've done in powerlifting or in jiu-jitsu. But now being in a position to where I can do wrestling shows and I get to shake kids' hands afterwards, and I get to, thank you, I get to talk to their parents about what they're inspired to do now because they've seen me wrestle, or they watch my workout videos or whatever. It's something that I just want to use the things that I fell in love with, lifting, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, what may be it, and be able to inspire the next generation to be able to do something positive with their lives and chase something greater than what they ever thought they could achieve. That's what I think I stand for currently in this moment. So
yeah, and you look at like Iron Man, who's like, he stands against weapons in the wrong hands. When he was shot down, he saw his family's name on a bomb. What do you stand against?
That's a good question. I don't know if I ever put this much thought into it. I think, in short, I stand against the idea that different aspects of today's world can be used in a negative way, whether that's for pure personal gain or whatever the case may be. I mean, there's basic answers like war and drugs and so on and so forth, and I stand against those things too. But at the same time, I think there gets a point to where you can take something that's very pure, such as like a passion or a different talent of yours, and not see the full potential of what you can gain from that if you only focus on yourself. And I think everybody should strive to build up their skills and talents and different things that they learn throughout life to better themselves, but then to be able to pass it to the next generation. That's what everybody that has stood in front of me has done for me. And so my pursuit right now is like kind of being in the middle to where I can mentor people, but I'm also still trying to better myself so I can be able to pass knowledge down. And so I think there's a lot of talented people in the world that have developed a lot of really cool skills. But if your life ends and you're not willing to pass any of that on in the same way that you gain that knowledge or skill, then I think, in a long answer, I kind of stand against that.
Yeah. What for then? Like, where's the legacy?
Yes.
The last thing is, every superhero has a flaw, right? Work-life balance, focus, dropping the ball, whatever it may be. What's your flaw?
I think my flaw, as of recent years, and I've got to learn this more now that I've been living alone, which would be my weakness of letting anger or stress dictate my overall mood or ability to have a positive outlook on things. And so I think in some ways my intensity in life has brought a lot of success and has allowed me to further diversify myself as a person. But sometimes I'm not in control of that intensity, and it can go from intensity and passion to like anger and stress. And so outside of the health benefits of not being stressed. It's how I affect those around me and how I'm perceived by those around me when I'm in a stressful scenario or I don't feel like things are happening in such a way that I want them to be. And that's been something that I've been working on, I'd say pretty diligently for the last year, of being more aware of the parts of my life where I'm stressful or have anger, because if I were to deem anything as a weakness, that's like, I think having anger or having stress is a sign of weakness to some degree. We all have it, but the more it digs down into somebody, it can create some really bad problems.
Of course.
Yeah, and I've had to dig myself out of a handful of those problems. So it's something that I think now being aware of it has allowed me to improve on that, because it's been a weakness that's been exploited many different times, and I'm glad that I'm aware of it now in my late 20s.
Yeah, I've been working on a lot of stuff, looking at kind of like background, like military intelligence and in interrogation environments and social awareness around things. And one of the things that I've been looking at recently has been the concept around your IQ and how intelligent somebody is, your intelligent quotient, and your EQ, your emotional quotient, but also what I call is your EC, which is emotional control. So it's like, I'm great at, maybe I'm very smart, I could see this and I could like figure this out, or I'm very good at coming into an environment and having that good kind of awareness.
I see.
But how do I respond? It's one thing to be able to have the awareness and be able to see things and react. So like your EQ, perception.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing to actually, how do you have internal emotional control so that my response to the environment can actually be managed to where I'm trying to go. Right. See, control, if not leveraged in the right direction, actually implodes you.
You're right. True.
So you need to be able to release that towards a direction with guidance. And that's one of the things that you want to kind of master, is your ability to come into an environment with a high IQ, go into an environment with a good EQ, so you could have good situational environmental awareness. But then from a self standpoint is have good EC, which is emotional control.
I like that. I never heard EC before. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a number of years, and it's something that I've been talking about for a while. And I really want to make sure that I don't just kind of bring something to market, which is terms, but I do look at it in the sense of, I do believe that we owe it to ourselves to have good emotional control, because at the end of the day, as a coach, we're stress managers. We're managing stress because whether we're managing CNS stress or we're managing physical stress or emotional stress, you could get sick just by getting in a fight with your significant other. You could get sick because of the other environments that are happening in your life that are affecting you, because that's stress. All stress is still stress. Good stress or bad stress, it's still stress. So I think you need to have emotional control to know how do you actually navigate that and figure out what those triggers are. You look at like the Hulk, when he notices he's about to get mad, what does he do?
What does he do?
He removes himself from the people he cares about. He isolates himself and he goes back.
Gotcha.
And the reason why is because he knows what's going to happen is not good. And then when you blow up, because you're emotional. So that emotional control needs to be funneled into the right direction. And that's our job as coaches, is to be stress managers. But I think what's cool is the deeper you go, the more you'll find your hidden talent and you'll find your actual superpower. And if you leverage it to, God's greater good, I think you can make a great impact in the world, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
Looking forward to big things that you're going to do next. All right.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
You too, man.
Brother.
See ya.